Hello, and welcome to Your Vote Counts, a public service program for the primary 2020 election that is being produced by Capital Community Television via remote technology in collaboration with the American Association of University Women, the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk Counties, 4 neighborhood associations, and the Salem City Club. For the nonpartisan contested races, all candidates were invited and they all accepted. The questions were developed by the sponsoring groups and the candidates did not receive them ahead of time. The candidate was asked to prepare a 3-minute opening statement telling about themselves, their qualifications, and their vision for the elected position. I am Barbara Sellers Young, a representative of the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk Counties, and I would like to introduce you to Chuck Bennett, running for the office of mayor, who will now begin his 3-minute statement.
Well, thank you very much, Barbara. Again, I'm Chuck Bennett. I'm the mayor of the city of Salem. I've been the mayor for the past 3 years. I'm in my second term. I moved to Salem 54 years ago to attend Willamette University. I graduated from there and have worked in the newspaper industry in this area. I was editor of the Woodburn and Staten newspaper, as well as City Hall reporter back in the mid-70s for the old Capital Journal, the journal half of Statesman Journal. I have dealt with a whole range of issues as a member of the city council for 9 years. Prior to that, a member of the Oregon State Legislature, and have included a whole range of city committees and commissions, Budget Committee, Planning Commission, Library Board, over the years in my resume of activities. I have found city service to be one of the things I have just really enjoyed in life. Professionally, I was Director of Government Relations for the Confederation of Oregon School Administrators for 20 years and specialized in school education funding and policy. During my years on the council, 9 years on the council, now 3 as mayor, I've worked a lot on homelessness. We've developed the largest Housing First program in the state of Oregon. Developed a new relationship with our school district to get the city involved in the Career and Technical Education Center out on Portland Road. I'm particularly proud of the work I've done as the city councilor for downtown for 9 years and as mayor to really create that vibrant downtown we all have talked about for years. The goals I have during the next term, I hope, is to have a quick and complete recovery from this current COVID situation. I'm on the governor's Mid-Valley Economic Recovery Team. I'll be well placed to assist in the economic side of that. I want to continue the building boom in commercial, industrial, and particularly residential buildings in this town. We need to complete the new police department, library upgrade, and we've got a great additional expansion of Riverfront Park underway. We have got to continue to aggressively address homelessness with an emphasis on housing and really dealing with the underlying causes of homelessness. We'll also be completing our new comprehensive plan. And I've developed a really close relationship with our federal, state, county, school district partners, as well as the transit district. I want to continue that. That has proven to be very effective in providing the services that residents of Salem expect to have from government generally. So I'm looking forward to being reelected and completing a really thorough agenda, I think, of issues that I've identified.
Well, thank you for that statement. I'd like to go back and ask you a little bit more about the homelessness you mentioned as a priority. Yes. How do you believe that you can go about solving such an intractable problem?
Solving it is on a person-by-person basis. When I came into office 3 years ago, I was confronted with it, and I started immediately. It was in my first State of the City message, the Housing Rental Assistance Program here in Salem. That is a housing first program that gets people into housing who have been long-term homeless. They've been on the streets for at least 10 years and have health, mental health, or addiction issues, and does wraparound services with them. We have moved 265 of the long-term homeless off the streets, and it's growing. We are adding space. We're using right now private apartments where landlords have agreed to work with us over the past 3 years, but we're also building some new units. But if you're going to get a person off homelessness, you have just have to go to the core issues. And they are often, unfortunately, long-term homelessness, long-term unemployment, long-term addiction, whether it's alcohol or drugs, and particularly, sadly, our mental health related issues and prior convictions for some sort of felony. There's just, like I say, these become highly individualized, and we're working very hard to make sure we have programs to address each of those specialized situations people find themselves in. We have to make this permanent. It isn't just put them in a tent somewhere.
And in terms of the homeless or other issues that you find within the city of Salem, how are you going to communicate with the general public about them so that they become informed about them and help you become part of the solution?
Right. That, I told you, I was a reporter, City Hall reporter back in the 70s. We had 2 City Hall reporters. We had a morning paper, an afternoon paper, 2 of everything, whether it was state or county government. Mine happened to be City Hall with Ron Blankenbaker over at the Statesman. And we were able to provide a very rich batch of material. That has changed. The standard media has changed dramatically. We do not have a TV station. I try to make sure I'm on radio, any radio station that'll take me anytime to talk about city issues. So I'm regularly on KYKN, KBZY, and on KMUZ whenever invited to provide information, as well as right now I'm using a messaging around the coronavirus problem. And then we have a whole range of city websites, city Facebook. There are other platforms out there. The difficulty is they're sort of diffused. And if you're not somehow heavily connected into online services, a big chunk of information is not getting to you. So I think what you have to do is sort of what I'm doing, and probably need to always beef up and stay current, is use every platform, every opportunity that comes your way to share with people. This is a great example. I think this is a fantastic opportunity for all of us to talk about the issues facing the city and to let people know that there are solutions either being considered or underway, and that they are welcomed into it. The other thing is we have several thousand volunteers at the city who share out with their own individual groups the kinds of opportunities that exist, the kinds of programs that are underway. So we do get a lot of folks volunteering here. We rely very heavily on volunteers. I'm a volunteer, for example. Here, all the city councilors are, all the budget committee members are. We're volunteers who happen to love our city and love this kind of service as part of our contribution to it.
You mentioned earlier in your opening statement areas of concern that you had about, or maybe I shouldn't phrase it as areas of concern, but areas that you want to focus on as mayor for the future. Would you like to pick another one of those and expand upon it as the way you did on homelessness?
Well, I'll tell you one that has, and I assume everyone right today, and this is being done in sort of mid-early April, and it changes as we know from week to week, but this virus shutdown is having an enormous impact on employment, our small business community, as well as larger retail and other kinds of commercial businesses. I think that is going to be a tremendous challenge. And I mentioned I'm on the governor's Mid-Valley Recovery Team. It allows me to share the issues occurring here in Salem with all of the city, county, state folks that are included on that, as well as our federal delegation. And I am working very hard to make sure that I am working in cooperation to develop and make people aware of the programs that are and are going to be available for those who are currently unemployed, whose businesses are in trouble, who are not receiving rent or having to pay rent, who have mortgages, can't pay mortgages, making sure that that huge array of programs are both clearly visible and available to people here in Salem. This is going to be a very, very challenging period. But 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we had the lowest unemployment we'd had in recent memory, if not in history, in this area. We had the most construction going on. We had one of the strongest economies we'd seen in decades in this community. And I am absolutely committed to recovering that level of an economy here. I think it's just essential. And I think we need to be fully prepared, all hands on desks in government, all hands on deck here in government to provide the kind of supports and to move the federal dollars and state dollars that are coming forward into the economy quickly to get people, keep people employed, get them employed, make sure their business keeps going, help them reopen, whatever it takes, whatever it takes.
Now, when you're talking about time past the virus, you're talking about the vibrancy of Salem. So you have the pre-virus, and now we're going to have the post-virus. So can you explain to me how you define a vibrant community? We often define it in terms of how employment is like, but what are the aspects of a vibrant community that you want to support in your next iteration as mayor?
I agree with you. Employment, I think a lot of it is that having the economic base that allows you to have a very rich nonprofit community. And I don't mean in dollars too, but one that can provide the kind of broad services people expect, that have a school district that will attract people who want to come to this community because they want their kids in our public schools. I've been very involved and supportive of the arts in this community for a number of years, including a stint as a member of the board of Pinnacle Theater, and believe strongly in having theater, music, great restaurants, outstanding higher education opportunities available. And you put all of that together, and I'll tell you, the kind of synergy that occurs among people engaged in that wide range of profit, nonprofit, cultural, educational activities, medical activities, you bring all that together, and what you end up with is a synergy that creates a place that you just want to be because it is so livable and it is so exciting to be there. And the feedback I've gotten over the past several years has been we have been achieving that in Salem, and people like it. So we're going to continue to pursue that approach. I think that that's the town I want to live in, okay? I've lived here for 54 years because I love this town. And it has changed, and it just gets better. And I'm enjoying it thoroughly.
One of the areas that I hear of concern is transportation in general, and one of the incidents that's happened more recently is number of pedestrian deaths.
Yeah.
And how would you go about addressing that as an issue? in
I
streets that
think,
sometimes seem crowded.
I'm sorry. Um, I'll tell you what results in people dying are vehicles traveling too fast. It's that simple. If you're hit by a car going 20 miles an hour, you're much more likely to survive than one going 35 or 40. And it's finding a way to both keep traffic moving, but also creating the kind of traffic pattern. And that can be speed, it can be breaks in traffic, all the rest of it, that is helpful to pedestrians getting around. And I think it's one of the most troubling things I've seen. I've worked on several of the flashing light crossings. The one on South Commercial that just went in, I was the advocate for that. The one on Market Street at 18th or 19th, I was instrumental in putting that in as a member of the city council. And the one between Willamette University and Tokyo University on 12th and 12th and 13th is another one I worked on. We have found those to be very successful in slowing traffic, catching the attention of drivers that there are pedestrians, but there are so many other places that what we need to do is figure out how to set up a traffic pattern that lowers that speed and convince drivers in Salem, like drivers anywhere else in the world, that a pedestrian has the right of way, and that I don't like it when someone cuts me off with the car while I'm crossing the street. And I watch people do it all the time. I'm very careful about it because I think that once you start doing that, you begin to think it's okay to just keep cutting off and cutting around pedestrians or bicyclists. And frankly, we're going to have more bicyclists. This is not going to be just a car driving town. And we need to develop the kind of sensitivity that keeps us from having the kind of wrecks that take people's lives. And I am absolutely committed to dealing with the work I think it's going to take, and it's going to be both political and economic, to develop the kind of street, bicycle, pedestrian system we need going into the future that anticipates increased pedestrian and bicycle use and allows those people to survive every trip they take.
All right. Thank you very much, Chuck, for your interview today and for sharing your thoughts on numerous issues. And thanks to Capital Television for the extensive efforts made to make this program possible. And thanks to you, the public, for watching in order to become an informed voter. If you have recently moved or need to register to vote, you have until April 28th. And to do so, ballots will be mailed out beginning April 29th. And always remember, your vote counts because they count your vote.